maybe we can just start to settle in together, and gather around the fire, the fire of now, and just a few moments of just being, really, allowing our experience to just be exactly as it is, which is a real gift we can offer to ourselves. You know, whatever it is that's here now, it's all workable, it's all valid, it's all path. And so just slowing down and breathing together, coming back into our bodies, our nervous systems coming to some rest, to some regulation, our hearts coming into resonance. I think it's just so easy, really, to lose touch with this, this felt experience of connection, of simple presence and being, where we're not needing just for a few moments, we're not needing to resolve anything, to accomplish anything, or sort something out, or to solve some sort of problem, especially the problem of me and my experience. Where for these few moments together, we're not needing to become someone different. And, I think especially in our modern, somewhat frenetic, digital, speedy world, where before we know it, our nervous systems can start to synchronize or to become tuned to those more collective frequencies of restlessness, worry, anxiety, stress, even if in really subtle ways that aren't so obvious, or in the other direction into a shutting down and emotional flatness, depressed, pressed downward, a disconnection with life, with the soul, with nature, with the sacred. And there's a way that these experiences can become a baseline for many of us, where our psychic center of gravity can come to orient sort of more habitually in a subtle or a not so subtle state of arousal, but in ways that we aren't always consciously aware of until we pause and until we slow down and really make contact with what's happening in our bodies, in our hearts, in our bellies, and hold our experience in that more of that curious, spacious, compassionate awareness, which is something that we can and will likely need to return to over and over throughout the day in these micro moments of attunement. And it really does only take a minute or two, or maybe three or four if we have some extra time, to interrupt that collective trance of disembodiment, of self abandonment, and return back into that felt sense of center, which it turns out is always here, actually. And so, this holding environment that we're coming into together every week or two, I've found can be a real support in this, as it's not always easy or even possible to find our way on our own, find our way into that centering, out of that trance, because that pull of the collective, that density of the collective is so thick. And as open, sensitive, relational human beings, it's just the way we were crafted, to regulate, to calm, and to open into life together with one another, in the arms of one another. Maybe not physically so much in this particular group, but certainly metaphorically, symbolically, energetically in the arms of one another. I mean, there's something unknown and mysterious, something quantum, something creative that can emerge in this sort of friendship, where we come together in the expression of a shared love of reality, of the heart, of what's most alive and what's most important to us. And of course, this is an experiment that we're making, and it's not always easy really to describe what it is that's happening here in this space, when someone asks me about it, especially not in words, when we turn toward the mystery together into the unknown and we step through that doorway where we might discover that things are not always as they appear. Where in a moment, when we're thrown off center, something happens. I wasn't expecting that. And the rug is pulled out from underneath us. We just don't know who we are anymore or what we're doing here, what this is all about. There's some grief or sadness or whatever it is, that we can turn toward ourselves, that we can meet ourselves in our experience with curiosity, with spaciousness, with compassion, with kindness, as best we can, and choose a new way. And we might start to see how even these difficult, these challenging, these unideal experiences, as well as those parts of ourselves who have been carrying all this experience on our behalf over all these years, decades, generations, are in some way, we might just discover that in some way they're allies of integration, of wholeness, emanations or manifestations of the beloved, of the friend, and that in response to the difficulties and the challenges, or even just the restlessness, the boredom, the apathy, the melancholy, the giving up, the deflation, that we don't need to abandon ourselves to replay and reenact what likely happened to us as young children in our families of origin, where we had to repress, disown, and turn away from our embodied vulnerability, from our sensitivities, from our eccentricities, from our wide open and unguarded little hearts as a way to protect ourselves. And, together to explore that real possibility, which is not just some sort of self help fantasy, but a grounded neurobiological reality that we can turn toward that little one who is longing for us, who is spinning inside of our hearts, who is aching and longing to be known, to be seen, to be listened to be held, not to be cured or fixed or anything like that, but to be held, And we can lay down a new pathway within soma, within our neural network, by which they can find their way home and resume their rightful role in that larger ecology of what we are. And slowly, over time, moment by moment, no urgency, no rush, no urgency on the path of love, but in a way that's going to be unique for each of us. Those wounds around love can begin to soften, to dissolve, to melt away. And we can reconnect with our true nature and its essential qualities of openness, of wonder, of awe, of play, of a causeless sort of joy that isn't dependent upon anything lining up in the way that we hoped and feared that it would or wouldn't. And just that simple aliveness of being that we can reconnect with.